podcast, Playing the Field, Field Gen 007. I'm your host. I'm co-hosted today by Mike FML, Thick Boy Mike. What's going on, brother?
My long-awaited return to the audio realms of the SML since my first time with the lesser brother. I'm happy and proud to be on with the better brother right now.
Hey, you know what?
Doing
That,
well over here, though,
that
bro.
means a lot. I don't come on here pounding my chest at the beginning calling this the number one show or commissioner of the SML. We're just going to roll with it and see what happens. Um,
Absolutely.
so you've been with us about two cycles. Just kind
Yep,
of break
going
it
on
down for us.
about a cycle and a half now. Once this one completes, it's probably going to be, I'm going to round up and call it two, but looking to be around for a long time coming still.
And you were the Bucks last cycle, correct?
Bucks last cycle, Panthers this cycle.
Do you
We'll see
miss
what
being the
next
Bucks at
one.
all, or
It was a completely different situation with the two. Panthers kind of had more of a built-in roster, and the Bucks had a little bit more flexibility in terms of building. If I had to choose between the two, Panthers much better. I'd prefer to kind of fine-tune and tweak a team rather than ground-up rebuild, but it's okay either way.
why choose the NFC South again? I mean, is it just because there was lesser competition, or I mean, why did you go that way?
Oh, yeah, that was the main point at the beginning is, it's very important, especially in team selection when you pick high up, that you can kind of choose where you want to be and who you want to play against. I knew that ZZ was kind of on my level. We're going to put him a little bit lower right now, but he
Mm.
might get back up there. And then NYT hopped in the back and Noel filled out the conference from there. But avoiding guys like Prime and Oshi and Future and those types is helpful in terms of potentially making the playoffs and making a surprise push.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult in my case. I picked the Texans because I remember Prime was basically saying everyone was scared. No one else had picked an AFC South team. People were commenting and chat about it, and I was like, "Fuck it," I'll grab
You
the
know,
bull
that's
by the
the
horns, and now I'm kind of paying for it.
that's the interesting thing to me is I would kind of enjoy that aspect in terms of playing Prime twice a year, but
Hmm.
as a Colts fan myself, I can't be another AFC South team. It's gross. It's disgusting. I can't do it.
It was a little strange at the beginning, but for me, the Texans are a less evil compared to the Jaguars or the Titans. I have a lot less disdain for the Texans than I do the other two teams. And I like Deshaun Watson. I think he's a good player and a decent person. So,
I mean, I could agree with you on that. I still haven't forgiven the Titans for Steve McNair sharing that MVP with Peyton Manning. I never will, but I see your point there.
so did you play your Week One game yet?
Yeah, it was a tough game against Future. It came down to he was up three. I had the ball. He
Yeah.
got two quick sacks on me. It was too much to overcome. He wound up winning by 10, but it was a little bit closer than that.
What are the keys then to stopping that team? I see that you held Wilson 12-19, a buck 93, a touchdown, two picks. His running back, 5 carries, 18 yards, two touchdowns. So you defensively looked like you played pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and this is no slight to Future or anything like that, but with him, what you see is what you get. I don't think he's as dynamic offensively as some other guys, and it's not easy, but it's pretty workable in terms of just trying to maintain what you're doing and identifying what he wants to do and kind of taking that away from him. The one thing that kind of got me is he didn't run as much as I think I would have expected,
Right.
and that dates back to me even my last season matchup with him. I just expected a little bit more on the ground, and I didn't get it. I kind of got caught a little bit a couple times there trying to play the run when I should have been playing the pass, but it is what it is in that front.
So looking ahead the rest of your schedule, I mean, what are your predictions? Do you think you're going to win your division? I mean, where are you at with that?
Oh, the fun thing, and this is part of the reason why I joined the South, is that anybody can win this division.
Yeah.
Noel won it, NYT won it, and I won it. So everybody except for ZZ has a fighter's chance. So, you know, I, the the one thing that is at my disadvantage is I do have a first place schedule since I won last year. So I have to play Future, I have to play
Right.
Graham, and then we have the NFC North this cycle,
Mm-hmm.
this season. So there's a little bit of luck there since Oshi's not an out of schedule game. He's actually in the schedule. So I kind of dodged a little bit of bullet there because I have to play him anyway. But I'm going to obviously give it my best, but I don't know how it's going to go because I do have, once again, a tough schedule with the NFC North, AFC South on the deck right now.
So obviously one of the marquee matchups on your schedule, I can't tell from Daddy Leagues, it appears to be somewhere at the end. Texans versus Panthers, renewing the rivalry from last cycle where I just did not get it done. What are your thoughts?
Well, I I still think I don't think you'll ever admit it, but I think you really would like to beat me
Oh,
just because I
absolutely.
know that I think you're 0-3
Yeah,
thereabout against me. So it's kind of one of those things where it's definitely got to be a monkey on your back, so to speak. But
yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting because I haven't seen a lot of your gameplay so far this year, but I know that you've been kind of up and down in terms of, your production and your consistency. Where do you think you are on that front?
Well, I think I've done a really good job of cutting down on interceptions and not making dumb plays. Just at times where I ride the Raider bus and blame the game. For instance, the game I had against Graham, I could not. I mean, you get an over. I forced overtime against the guy where a game where nothing was going right, and then Zeke just X factors the shit out of my defense on an 80-yard touchdown run to end the game. And there's
That's
nothing you
got to
can do
feel
about
good.
that. And I called a run defense that was set to stop that, and you just kind of get maddened. So at times, I could see that. I blame Madden for a lot of my issues when I lose. Although some of it, like you said, is just my inconsistency in terms of play calling. Where I don't know if I try to get too conservative, or at times, like on Prime's breakdown, that I think the thing to death and just wind up fucking myself.
It's interesting that you say that because it kind of goes to show you the, aspect of Madden where some people just match up against other people better because Graham kicks my shit in every time this season.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what I do, but he just slaps the piss out of me. And it sounds like with you, you handled him okay until, it got to the point where, a 50-50 play essentially, and it worked out in his favor. But, back on track, I'm looking forward to this season overall. The Texans on the schedule, Colts on the schedule, all this stuff's going to be interesting and a nice little measuring stick that's good to come across every now and again.
So with that being said, who would be the toughest team that you play on the NFC this year, or I guess on your schedule altogether? What's one game that you're really looking or not looking forward to on the schedule?
Truth be told, I hate this. Is going to be very weird considering, like I said, I play a first place schedule.
Mm,
I hate playing NYT. His offense is absolutely disgusting, and it's one of those games where it's just like when I play Gov. You have to score every possession, and
right.
you got to hope for a break because I know that I'm not going to stop him that much. I know that he's going to put up points, and I would much rather play a controlled game than a frenetic high offense game.
And he got in a shootout week 17 that he dethroned the folding chair meats, knocked off his what would be perfect season at the regular season. So he can definitely run with the big dogs. And he's always been that way. Like Prime always says, he's one of these guys that can always just notch a win somehow. And if it's a 17-14 or 45-42 game.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because the NFC South gets a lot of shit just for being, I won the division with a 500 record. It is what it is.
Right.
But the guy that was 15-0 going into the last week, Meats barely beat me. ZZ put up a good game against Meats, and NYT ended up beating him. So we might be the lesser division in terms of overall records, but we can all bring it. We can all win any game any week, and we can all lose to 0-16 guys if we need to. Sometimes it's just it's the rough life that we live as an NFC South team.
Yeah, and that's just kind of how this Madden's been between all the updates and everything else. And that's a huge thing, too. You get used to a certain style of play, getting used to working around the game, the quirks or whatever down pitfalls it has, and you adjust your gameplay accordingly. And then by the time you kind of half-ass figured out, they change the game again. Are Do you agree with that or not so much?
I've kind of low key been looking forward to this point in the podcast because it kind of turns into the Field General Angry Guy Yells at Cloud podcast, which is an all time favorite there for
Yeah,
especially yourself and Raider. Um, I don't blame the game with anything. We're all playing on the same field, man.
right.
I mean, obviously there are probably programming things that come into play there, but sometimes you're gonna, sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug. It's just how it goes.
Right.
It's all you can do, and this leads into what ZZ, what people in the past have said, that you make your own luck, you make your own momentum, this, that, and the other. You can't make mistakes. If you make mistakes, then you're going to pay for it. So if you can consistently play a crisp game, make proper decisions, just like anything in life, just like at the poker table, if you're doing the right thing, more often than not, you're going to come out ahead overall. And that's how I like to look at things, just because I'm going to lose some games on some shit luck. I'm going to win some
Mm,
on some shit luck as well. It's just the in between there that determines most of the seasons.
yeah, like I said, I've never totally been on 100% on Raiders' side. I don't agree with there being no user input. I do agree with an extent that a lot of things happen just because it's the game. I don't know if I really believe his formula about certain teams or programs from the beginning to be better. Or
Here's a question,
yeah,
if I could butt in for a sec there. And this is, I think I know the answer to this one,
mm,
but just on the record, and just Raider, we all love you,
mm.
but how much of his stuff do you think is legitimate him feeling this way, and how much is, animated memeing, so to speak?
I couldn't really put a percentage on it. I think deep down he does believe part of the concepts. I feel some of this now has been exacerbated by just how poorly he's played this season. But even if I remember correctly, last cycle he didn't fare too well either.
I think last cycle he had one decent season, and the rest was kind of,
Yeah, I
toilet
think it
bowl.
went down the longer he was in. So like I said, I agree with parts of what he says. I think a
Uh,
lot of that's just him being angry at the way things happen, and a lot of that is once again it's kind of talked up in the chat when people are throwing things in your face. I think he's just kind of like I get sometimes. You just get bitter towards the game when you
Yeah, I get it. I
lose.
mean, the beautiful thing about SML in general is that there's a lot of different personalities here and a lot of different opinions.
Yeah.
We go on for days and days in the chat over and over again about
Mm.
multiple different topics, and it's okay. We don't all got to agree. We just got to make the best of it and enjoy our time in the process.
So let's talk about one very interesting member. He gets talked about a lot, and it's kind of interesting. It's like a herpes flare up just out of nowhere today between QB Stud and Conk. What are your opinions on Conk? Do you think that he is legit ignorant as to his personality and the way that it rubs people? Do you think he's intentionally do it, or you just think that he's totally ignorant as to why he rubs people the wrong way?
I've got some opinions in that regard that I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to share completely.
Okay.
I think he's fully aware of what he's doing at the time. I don't think he's a dumb person. I don't think he
No.
is completely ignorant and out of place in terms of what's going on. Um, I think there's a lot of question and mystery about that guy, and I think that he is, you know, we're talking, if we have a scale there, he's probably 60-40 in terms of good, bad for, a league and
Yeah.
just things overall, because he does provide value. I don't think it's a situation where it's a spot where somebody's not providing value and they're just there to be there, because
Mm.
I think deep down he's a pretty good dude, and deep down he doesn't mean to be quite the problem child that he is on occasion. But in most of the time in his disagreements, he's probably in the wrong. I think I'd side with the other party 99 times out of 100. I can't even say 9 out of 10, even though it's the same thing, because it's more, it takes something very strange for me to think that, oh, Kong's right on this. But I think ultimately it's a spot where you just got to kind of, again, we're all different. Everybody doesn't have to be the same. It'd be a little bit boring if we were. So it's a little bit of animation that you need every now and again.
Yeah. If you were Conk and you wanted to stay in the league long term, what would your advice be for him to either find that happy medium or to dial it back a ways, or what would your advice be to Conk to make it long term?
Um, be a little less in your face. You can be animated and be that person, but constantly picking fights and knowing ahead of time what you're doing is not beneficial in any way. There's a line between defending yourself, which I will admit he has to defend himself a
Yeah.
lot, just because he has pushed many people that wrong way.
Right. Well, he
But
started with me, but now we settled that in DM or whatever. Now I just kind of laugh it off, and he doesn't try to push my buttons anymore.
and dude, that's what it comes down to. If you have any disagreement, just take it to DMs, take it to admins. It is what it is. They'll
Hmm.
figure it out. It's when things get blown up publicly, when things
Yeah.
get go beyond what they need to be, that it becomes an issue. So, having a little bit of a filter, everybody's got to have some sort of
Yes.
filter, and some people have less than others. But I can use myself as an example there. Back last cycle, I had a big blowout with one of our primer guys, K Triggs, and that
Yeah.
was public and aggressive, and I've learned from that. There was nothing negative on my front. I was in the right in that situation, but it's one of those things where you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that nobody likes. You don't want to be the guy that everybody doesn't want to be around because we can't stand being around
Right.
you. I don't think he's necessarily that, because most of us, and this is a credit to the league, we've all learned to kind of just mostly just let it go. Don't worry about it. Don't stick on things and just move on. But biggest thing is just learn to have a little bit of a filter.
How do you think the league has evolved from where you were last, like when you first came in? I think at that point, Fuzzy was the chat police. None of these arguments really got very far between myself and Fuzzy and even Prime. Like back in the day, like when we first started, it was no smack talk, no bullshit. Just come and play your games. If you want to talk, keep it professional. And now the philosophical beliefs on this league have seemed to have changed quite a bit from the top filtering all the way down through the league. Do you think that's for a positive, or do you think that it needs to be scaled back to an extent, or what's your opinion on that?
No, I think it's absolutely positive. I mean, when you look at things, we are all adults. I don't think
Hmm.
there's a single person that's under 18. I'm pretty sure Rowan is. He's college. He's got to be
Yeah.
at least 18, 19, something like that. There's not any of us that are, boys. We're all
Right.
men. We all can answer for our own words. We can all, have a discussion, hopefully man to man, and get through things. So, looking at the member list right now, there's not a single guy there that I have any, personal issues with. This is the internet. This is the Madden League. This is gaming. I don't have anything personal, and I don't think anybody else does or should have anything personal. The added benefit of a little bit of shit talk here and there is always good. I know ZZ and me go back and forth. I talk shit with Redskins, SDCG, what the fuck gamepad.
Hmm.
I go way back with him. There's all sorts of people that you have a little something back and forth with that just keeps things fresh. So I definitely don't think that there's any true benefit to a air quote PG scenario, just because that's not the world we live in. We don't live in a PG world. It's not going to happen. So trying to imitate actuality, imitate real life, is much easier than trying to imitate some fantasy world that's never going to exist.
So I guess my last topic that I have in mind before I turn it over to you and see if you have anything you want to spitfire. Week one matchup was Jaguars versus Colts, and it was a complete shellacking. I mean, the Jaguars won 52-37. Stalker 16-22, 358, three touchdowns, no interceptions. Fournette 19 carries, a buck 23, three touchdowns. Andrew Luck had a decent game, 15-20, 352, four touchdowns, two picks. Running game was pretty half-assed, stagnant. Um, do you think that it's cause for alarm for the Colts? Do you think that this is more or less, even though Dump has taken games here and there against Prime, that this would be an outlier type deal? Or do you think that people really need to watch this and start hammering away on plays the way that Dump exposed him?
It's an interesting thing with Prime always. Back in the playoffs last season before the Super Bowl, people were trying to, be like, oh, Meats is going to win this, or, Oshi's going to win this, that, and the other. But when it comes down to it, if you have money on the line, you're always going to take Prime to do something. The interesting thing with Dump is I watched a lot of that game, so I
Yeah,
saw a lot of that live. Um, he has an explosive offense to the point where if you don't play the pass, you're gonna be beat,
right.
because he can run. He has too many fast receivers. He can run crossers, this, that, and the other. And if you're not getting pressure and slash or playing the most absolute shutdown defense of your life, it's not going to be a spot where you stop him. He's going to quickly get into that, gov area, that NYT area offensively, where you don't necessarily try to stop them. You just try to keep up.
Right.
And what Prime did in his downfall, and his occasional downfall, is if his plan A doesn't work and his plan B doesn't work, he doesn't usually have to have a plan C, because he never has to have a plan C. 99% of people he plays, plan A is going to be fine. And if not that 1%, plan B is going to do just fine as well. It's something where he made too many mistakes and he got caught off guard. I don't anticipate that being a problem going forward. I don't think it's a situation where it's like, oh, the Indianapolis Colts empire is over, because it's not. It's not going to be until he is gone and buried and can't haunt you anymore. Prime's always going to be looking over the shoulder in the South.
Do you think that the running game is a fluke, or do you think that'd be something that people should attempt to exploit?
In regards to Prime giving up yards,
Yeah,
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's mostly a fluke because, generally speaking, when you watch a Prime game, he's following the blueprint that everybody else follows, that wins a lot of games. You
right,
get somebody 2nd and 10, then you sack them there. They're now 3rd and long, and you can't convert there.
right,
It's just like real life, man. If you control the down and distance, you're going to control the game, and that's what the best players in the league do. Is they just control the down and distance and make it hard for you to convert. What Dump did so well is he didn't get in those situations. So once he got those passes going, once he got that opened up, he was able to get the running lanes. And it's Madden 20. More often than not, Madden in general, people are going to lean pass. So you can get away with playing a cover threes, cover twos, this, that, and the other, and it's going to work out most of the time. But with Jaguars' offense as it is right now, he's got everything working for him.
yeah. I did have two other points I want to touch base on real quick. One is Super Bowl predictions, two early Super Bowl predictions. Who do you think will be in the SML Super Bowl? And the other is in regards to gameplay. There have been things been mentioned in chat, things that I felt I've seen. Do you think that guys are starting to be a little bit more cheesy? They're really relying on YouTube videos where they're doing swerve catches and swerve runs, relying on glitch defense and things of that nature? Or do you feel that that's more of an isolated incident or not at all? Do you think this is cause for concern?
Let's start with the bad stuff, and then we'll end with the predictions and
Yeah,
whatnot. Gameplay is always going to be an issue with any league. I've been playing online franchises for 10 plus years now. I've ran leagues. I'm running currently leagues, so it's nothing new to me. I think I do know what's sim and what's not sim,
yeah,
and generally speaking, every week that we play these games, something non-sim happens.
right.
It's just part. It just does. I'm not naming any names. I'm not particularly calling anybody out because there are different levels of sim violation.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, what it comes down to for me is, if something feels even a little bit dirty, it probably is dirty. So it comes down to, again, just like my example with Conk, you got to have your personal filter there. If you feel like something's on the fringe, if something's maybe a little bit shitty, or if somebody feels any sort of negative way towards your gameplay, it's probably something you want to work out yourself, and it's probably something you want to take a deep look at and be like, okay, I probably shouldn't do this. I don't think it's necessarily anything bad, but if it's creating a problem, it's probably not beneficial long term. But it's nothing that I think the SML has a problem with. It's nothing epidemic. It's nothing that is a true concern, because, like I said, every league has little things that people do that aren't sim. It's it's just going to happen.
Right.
But as long as you can end the game feeling that you didn't get cheated, which I think we can more often than not, I think it's going to work out.
What do you think of
Um,
Super Bowl predictions?
Brother, it's tough to see that far in the future, so it's obviously just a blind guess.
Yeah, give it to us. Blind guess. That's what I want.
AFC, it's pretty easy. Like I said, I'm going to go with Prime until somebody beats him. The
Yeah,
only person that's consistently beat Prime is Haas, and then Jaguars Dump has beat him fair bit as well. So depending on how things work out there, it could go either way. But I'm going to still go Prime from the AFC, depending no matter what. I just think that he's got this aura and effect on people that make them feel like they lose before they even play the game, and that's bigger than the mental battle is almost always the toughest battle there.
right.
So that's part of that is Prime in the AFC. NFC, you obviously got your front runners. You got Future, Oshie, Graham. I Dude, I really hope Graham can put something together and make it happen. I played him last season, I think,
Yeah,
and it was the most defeated I've ever felt in the game. I'm not somebody that it's uncommon where I lose a game, but it's kind of common where I don't feel like I ever had a chance. And that game against Graham, I don't looking back, I can't think of anything I could have really done better because he just kicked the shit out of me.
Right.
And I'm man enough to say that, man. I'm not going to ever look at a game and be like, oh, I lost that because I got screwed. It just, it happens. But I'll go with Graham and Prime as of right now.
I think I would agree with Prime getting back there as well, and I think for me it'd be between Oshie and Gov, just because the body of work between Gov with the champions or championships and always playing at a high level, and Oshie always seeming to play at a high level. His user skill being one or two for best in the league or tied for best in the league, and his Bears squad is really geared for the type of football he likes to play right now. So
Did you catch that Super Bowl game, by the way?
I caught bits and pieces of it. I was working. I missed the miracle play, the fourth down play, the create your own animations.
I couldn't believe that play at all. That was insane.
Yeah, so I don't know if that was so much creating animations or just getting bailed out, but regardless, it was a really great game. And then honestly, when I saw the final play where Oshie went to the end zone, I thought that Oshie won the damn game. I thought for sure that
I
tight
did
end had
too.
that ball.
I thought it was a grab. I'm
So
right there with you.
that was a really good game. So it'd be interesting to see who's back that way. I appreciate you coming on, man. Do you got any closing statements?
No, I'm just, we're going into week two. I think, tonight, sometime, I don't think it's Thursday. It might be Thursday, but yeah, I think Thursday. It's looking like another interesting season. We got a lot of new blood that's kind of establishing
Yeah,
themselves. The guys that came up from Prime, or even last season. Chrisman in Pittsburgh, QB Stud in New England, Conk in Buffalo. He's done pretty all right for himself.
yeah, for the
There's a lot of
Bills.
new guys that are that they present an interesting thing just because you know Prime and QB had their rankings, and I haven't said it yet, so let me just go ahead and get it the way.
Yeah, go
Fuck you, QB Stud. Be higher on the Panthers, man. It's not nice, but it's an interesting mix of people that you don't know about, people that are underperforming, front runners, and there are very few people that you can absolutely write off from week one.
Right.
So that's one of the best things is that there's always something at stake every week that you play. And that's again why I'm fortunate I'm in the NFC South because I have a little bit more wiggle room there. But for the vast majority of people, if you lose a game in week one, it could literally be your season.
Right.
So every game has a little bit on the line, which obviously makes things more tense, makes things more volatile, and that's always entertaining from an outsider perspective because I watch a lot of these games during the week. I see a lot of gameplay. It's something that you can't always get everywhere, and it's good to see that we're looking like this season might be one of our best yet, just because there's so many more question marks.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on with the league, like you said, with the rankings or predictions or whatever you want to call it. I think stuff
Yeah,
like that's good to light a fire under some of the guys like my ass, to keep you competitive because you're always looked down on between every podcast. So they're talking about you being an underperformer, blah 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 blah. And then big shout out to the Broncos and Rowanka. Those guys are
yeah.
constantly putting
Broncos,
out
Bengals, good
graphics
graphics.
and just really
QB
being
doing his.
proactive in their own way.
Yep, I
So
agree with you 100%. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good things to add value to the SML as a umbrella, and there's nothing negative there.
no, it's always interesting to see the teams that you start with, at that first season, week one, and how many of those teams have changed by the time that you finish or even get halfway through where we are now. You know,
Yeah, the interesting thing is I don't know if I see a lot more change as of right now, barring people, getting game fatigue and whatnot. I
yeah,
think the current group of owners is pretty solid overall from top to bottom.
yeah. Even the guys that we've gotten rid of wasn't because they weren't playing their games. I mean,
Hmm.
I think we've had over basically this cycle. I don't really think we've had issues with having shit owners or guys that are just troublemakers or anything like that. I think it's just a matter of what philosophy Prime and ZZ deemed important. Some
Yeah, I mean it's
arachnophobia, a lot of good guys, G World guys that always played their games that are no longer with us, but we got a new crop of guys that are playing their games and talking their
it's
shit and
important
jazz.
to
So
on every level stay hungry just a little bit.
yeah,
You can't be complacent. You got to keep working your best and putting your best foot forward. And that's a general concept for life. If I'm being completely honest, the more active you are, the more good you do, the better things are going to end up being. So it's always good. I think, sky's the limit, everything's moving in the right direction, and that's always good to be a part of.
Well, we're going to go ahead and close this out. If you guys are watching for the first time, check us out, simmaddenleague.com, daddyleagues.com/SML. Be sure you apply today. They've got some spots in the primer. It's the spin-off league. I think they got a couple spots. I'm not in there. I believe there are a couple
Yeah,
spots left. So,
we've got about 5, 6 teams open right now, so we can definitely have the spots open. I want to take a quick sec. Thank you, Field General, the better of the two brothers. Um, you are a true asset to the league, and never forget that.
well, I appreciate that. I'm going to be pulling for you out of the NFC. Thick Boy Mike hopping on with us today. We kind of kept it a little bit more adult here. We kept emotions down, and we just kind of got to the meat and potatoes of it. But I guarantee a win versus Mike FML this year. I'm coming at it. I got to get my win. I got to get the monkey off my back. I can't let you beat me again.
Probably not going to happen, but you can keep dreaming. I support you in your attempt to finally get over that hill.
We'll do our best. Good luck to everyone the rest of the season. If you're interested in people commentating your games, make sure that you get on that. Continue being proactive, and if you're tweeting out, make sure you tag at SimMaddenLeague. That way we can retweet your tweets. It's just much easier to see it that way. Hope you guys have a good night.